record. Hey guys, it's Turok, and today we're going to do chapter 1102 of One Piece. This is the looks like it very well. Yeah, it has, because of the way the ending. This is very much I would say, the last chapter of this flashback, and we have a break next week, so we'll have to wait till the new year, next year, to get back to the present. Um, where was this? I wanted to look at the beginning. The last chapter was called To Bonney, and that was the one where we started seeing more stuff close to the present. We start with Kuma seeing Luffy and piecing together that is Dragon's son, and he's keeping an eye on him. This is interesting too. I don't know if I brought this up before, but I've been pondering it around that since the last chapter and throughout this since then. Is Kuma? It kind of does in a way. He's like Kuma appears to be looking to the future throughout this chapter and the last one, where he realizes. I like this too. I was trying to figure out why he started doing this. What I'm trying to ask is why he started doing this. Though he's looking to the future to help, like, the next generation, I guess, of stopping the what's it, like, the world government. Because he's watching Luffy, and throughout this chapter, he's kind of going to do the same stuff. Because he knows, I bet in some ways, Kuma thinks that if he was able to continue working with Dragon, and that they could stop the world government. But it's like he's like planning ahead. He's already thinking, okay, I have to figure out. I want to be ready I want the next generation to be fostered and ready to help take up the mantle if we fail. Anyways, this chapter is called "The Life of Kuma." It's kind of like doing a bow tie to wrapping up the story. This feels like the way they're doing this. If there's other stuff that happens, and we can clear up stuff and see things from the other angle, of some other angles, but the way this title is titled reminds me a bit of what is it? Oh, cut myself. Reminds me of a final chapter, epilogue of a book. I like how they're doing that. Also, this one has a cute cover art that has Bonney in it this time. I don't think I've mentioned the cover arts that much because they're all not usually really related. I know there was one with Usopp and Sanji. There's been one way back with Doflamingo even. So this one is still taking place starting I think shortly before Luffy. Yeah, it does, right. Starting shortly before Luffy has even gone out to sea. He's wait, who's the other guys? Oh yeah, I was thinking something about later. So we see Bonney here is going around to other places trying to find Kuma. Unfortunately, due to her father's mode of transportation, well, not just that, he can his mode of transportation. I refer more to as Devil Fruit. Even though we see too, he's got a ship, like living quarters on that. Bonney gets close to Kuma in some instances here, but is unable to see him, because he's like when he sees that she's nearby, he pops away so that she can't get close enough. I was thinking about this morning as I read this chapter too, and it was bugging me that, like, okay, why can't you just go to her, Kuma, and talk to her? The government's not going to find out. Are you worried that a Cypher Pole agent is snooping right behind you every step you take? I'm a little surprised they don't seem to be doing that. but I'm guessing he's doing that because Bonney would not let him leave once she got back to him, if they reunited at this point in his story. Because he's still going to go through with having his mind erased, and he knows she won't let him do that if she finds out. So in this one, they're on an island. They're on an island here. Do they see a ship or something? Maybe they see a ship because one of her crew members tells her, "Oh, no doubt about it. Kuma is here." Also, they're still calling her. They're calling her by her name, as I'm sure they've always done throughout her life. But now she wants them to start calling her Captain. And one was like, "Okay, okay, I'll do it. Fine." Um, and they're just called the Bonney Pirates. I was thinking she would use a different name the way Luffy does. He calls himself. He's not called the Luffy Pirates. He's called Straw Hat Pirates. But this is the Bonney Pirates. Also, I thought it was cute. There's one of the pirates here. He looks like a kind of rough looking guy. He's got this really waxed looking mustache. I don't know if this is one of her other main friends we've seen from Kuma's younger days. But he's got like leather on it. He's wearing like a leather vest, I believe, and pants. But he's got this shirt on that just has a bunny drawn on it on his chest area, and I think it's cute because it's I was thinking, is that supposed to be like Bonnie bunny kind of wordplay that Oda might be throwing in there? So Bonnie and them are going there on the island, like they running in there with. I don't think they're. It looks like they're running in there in a way that the Marines here that they first meet here are interpreting as like an attack, and later on she does bring up, so like they'll go after bad guys and steal money that way. She's really like Robin Hood. I think I'm gonna call it. That's the title I'll be doing, like Robin Hood Bonnie or something like that. But so at this point we've seen how she too has got a name for herself, and it's almost similar to Luffy actually, because she's encountering Marines at certain points. We don't know the initial fight, how the initial fight, where it took place, or if she looked like she was robbing, normal citizens. But a contingent of Marines are here, and they're like, "Oh, we've got orders to bring them in. Mount up and arm up, men. The Bonney Pirates are here." And they go on to point out, "Oh, the last city that was attacked with them was packed with seniors and children. They're just terrible people that go after the old and helpless type thing," and not piecing together that obviously that's only because Bonnie's doing it. They still haven't figured out that she has a devil fruit at this point. At this point here, in her story. At this point too, we have to point out she's still only 9 years old, but she's showing up in these at these places in her adult form, so no one else has pieced that together either. And these other Marines get ready for her to come at the fighter, and she just gets up to them and unleashes her abilities on them and just starts turning them all into old people. And the leader here, we see this captain or whatever I'll call him, gets turned into a kid, and we see others next to him turn into old men, and the weapons is destroyed from it too. So it still begs the question though, I'm wondering if she's touching them at all, or just passing by them and exuding the ability in a way that would be a little bit like Law maybe. So we switch over to Bonnie. Not switch over. We switch from seeing her fight the Marines to her going around asking people about seeing Kuma, and one of them does point her in the right direction, like, "Oh yeah, that guy. He was out in the outskirts of town," and but Kuma's walking on the other side of the building and sees that conversation, and is like, It seems like this might have been not the first time she's gotten close to him, because he seems a little calmer about it than I would expect, and he just thinks to himself, "I can't see you, Bonnie. I'm so sorry." And he pops away while he's thinking, "I can't believe you actually became a pirate now." Well, it's not really like she had a choice in like her lifestyle out in the sea. When you think about it, she's probably just ransacking places where she can steal money to survive, but not from helpless people or good hardworking citizens. Okay, this is funny too. So, Bonnie, we switched from after this search on the island, so they don't find her, and Bonnie is upset that they keep missing him. Though I'm starting to think that this with this exchange, she maybe doesn't fully understand his abilities and how easily he can pop away. Like maybe I'm wondering, does that mean, because if he gets on his ship and just sails away, I'm thinking she's probably hoping she could have got into her ship quickly and start tailing him. Maybe he can use his ability to make his whole ship jump away. Think like how the Straw Hats, Frankie's built in that coupe de burst on their ship, and they can just pop away, blow them, shoot away in like an angle. I'm thinking he's doing the same thing. Oh, by the way, I noticed Bonnie's weapon of choice is just a big stick wielding, and she's not like wielding a sword. She's not. I was thinking she didn't really wield a weapon, but in this scene, she does have a stick with her. That's a good weapon to use, because then it's easier not to kill somebody. And I'm sure what she's doing here, she's just trying to look around and find him. She's not trying to be a pirate out of any. Her need to be a pirate is like out of, like I said, necessity now that they're needing to. They're not going to have a lot of funds with them. These fishermen who are her crew, and I have to get money somehow. And what I like too about this is that Bonnie wants to find Nika in this point of the story, and I think it's cute how she's like telling her crew members about it, and it's funny that she's the captain, of course, because she's 9 and the others are along with this, and then she's like, yeah, this is great. While we're out here, let's see if we can find Nika. Daddy would be so thrilled if I can tell I found him. So now we start getting bits here too in this chapter that's going to happen a lot, where we're getting other parallel events that helps us figure out the timeline. And the first of which here is we see the Luffy and the other Straw Hats right after Luffy got his first bounty for defeating Arlong. So we're jumping ahead a little bit, yeah, because Bonney, I think, started 6 months before Luffy did on her journey. And so yeah, we see Luffy here, and we get a little exposition from the narrator about meanwhile, over here in East Blue, Luffy has made headlines by defeating the Arlong pirates, and has got his first bounty. And now we see, like we did a couple chapters ago with the other warlords, seeing that Kuma is a new the new warlord. We get some other characters seeing Luffy's bounty, starting with Dragon. We don't see him directly look at it, but the panel has him and Sabo, and he's telling Sabo that he's going to go to Log Town. He won't tell Sabo why, though. He's definitely keeping his Luffy's existence extremely close to the chest. And because Sabo's like, oh, you're going there, Log Town. Why are you doing that? And Dragon's like, oh, no reason. Also, can you let me know what Navy officer is stationed there? And then Sabo informs him of Smoker. And while he says that, the next panel over shows Smoker seeing Luffy's poster himself, looking at it in his hand. And so he's obviously, this would be the point where he must be preparing to capture Luffy if Luffy were to land there, which we know he does. So he's already like, oh, this kid comes here, I'm ready to get him. We can't let new pirates running around, type of thing. Why is this showing that? So anyways, we switch to Ace again. We see Ace and Jinbei one more time here too. And he's showing off the poster to Jinbei. I think we saw this scene before briefly in Impel Down's arc. So he's sitting on a ship with Jinbei, and look, my kid brother got a bounty. And this surprises Jinbei here initially. I'm trying to think if this was shown before Jinbei's actual reaction. I don't believe it was. But it's like, wow, that's a kid, a teenager or whatever, brought down Arlong. And we switch last to just Jinbei seeing the poster. He's like, oh, this is an interesting turn of events that your son, Dragon, your son would become a pirate. And we switch now to Bonney, and this is where she brings up her rules about their piracy activities. She calls it ironclad. And she first goes like, oh, we're going to plunder whatever we want. But then it's in subtext from the only bad guys, rob them blind, and don't help a soul unless they really need it. And so apparently, again, she's like essentially acting very similar to Luffy, except Luffy never actually plundered anyone unless Nami did some thieving while they were in other places. Did she do anything like that other than Skypiea? I know she pickpocketed her neighbors and that when they left her island. And now we see too where Bonney decides to put the jewelry in her eyepiece, because she's thinking, oh, he won't recognize me. He wouldn't recognize me if I don't have something right where the sapphire was. So I'm gonna put a little jewelry piece there. And she's essentially trying to be a grown up now. She's in that position where her mind says like, oh, I want to be grown up. And so what else do grown-ups do? She also gets the lipstick and puts some on her face. And I'm thinking she doesn't realize she should put it all over. She just puts that little bit. And Gio, I think that's his name. He's like, yeah, that's how you put lipstick on. And I don't know if he's just trying to be very supportive. I think he is. I was trying to think, is he trying to does he not know how to put lipstick on, or does he just not want to correct her? I'm suspecting the latter. So we switched here briefly to, I keep saying switch. Now we go to Egghead, and Kuma, I don't know if Kuma's coming back here at this point to do more of his process of his cybernization, I'm going to call it. Vegapunk here has shown off his success with cloning him. I mean, they're passing tubes with all the Mark 1 pacifistas. See how this goes here. Wait, who says what here? Unsettling things. I'm sorry. Because we go here, in this bit of conversation, Kuma informs Vegapunk at this point of Dragon having a son. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out. He says that he's just telling him that because he figures Vegapunk was going to go look through his memories once he was able to put him into his paw bubble. And this is very surprising, especially to a Vegapunk. I'm guessing he never thought some lady would sidle up next to Dragon, but and Kuma mentioned too. It's very interesting that he's someone who's both standing up to the government and he has rubber flowers. It's like my idol Nika. So this is after he actually, this is right after Eni's lobby that this conversation is happening. Because Kuma first says, "Did you hear about some rookie declared war on the world?" I think I think that's Vegapunk that first brings it up. That some rookie has declared war on the world government. And then that's when Kuma's like, oh, that's probably, I think I know who that is. It's probably Dragon. Maybe that's just a coincidence. But then he comes right afterward, he says, Kuma's telling Vegapunk. So the conversation here, the way the bubbles are placed is confusing me about who says what there. But I like that Kuma's kind of piecing together basically that Luffy could be like Nika. I don't think he's obviously not realized it. I don't think anyone, that's something to point out too. I'll pause here. No one else knows that Nika, I wonder if he's not pieced together Joy Boy. Okay, that's interesting. Wait a minute. So we know, some people know about Joy Boy. Who knows? Like Odin, and then Momonosuke, and Zunisha talks about it. I'm thinking not many people actually know about Nika, even less than Joy Boy. Kuma would make sense because he lived as a slave, and the slaves in Marizua would be talking about it. So I'm just wondering how many people may have pieced together, hey, there's this guy called Joy Boy and this guy called Nika, and they might be in one and the same. Not sure there. So now we switch to the point here and get Kuma's interaction once more with the Straw Hats, and we see they do a little summarize thing where Kuma's already there, and informs the Straw Hats, "I'm here to take you all out, but if you give me Straw Hat Luffy, your captain, I'll just I'll leave." And the others, um, and then we get the other crew members saying, "No, we won't do that." And then he uses the Ursus shock to knock them all out. And then it goes to showing where Zoro was ready to lay down his life, and then Kuma tests uh, his what's the word I'm looking for? His diligence or loyalty, I should say, too, by testing him if you'll take all this pain, well, you take all your captain's pain then. And then we get that last bit too from that it was shown in Thriller Bark as well, where he's kind of talking to Dragon. He's talking to himself. But he's like pretending he'd be how would you say it? Well, oh, Dragon, you have a great. I can't think what they call it, but and the line is, your son has exceptional friends. Just as I expect someone who is your son. So next bit now we jump to Sabaody, and looks like it's right. So now as you can see, we're jumping along the Straw Hats timeline before the time skip. We saw Luffy after Arlong, then we saw we saw the timeline right before Logtown there too with Dragon and Smoker. And now we're jumping ahead to Enies Lobby and Thriller Bark, and now so we're skipping over. Only reason we're skipping over the rest of Alabasta is like Kuma wasn't there and stuff. But so this is more related. So now we reach Sabaody. And now this was Kuma is first receiving the order at the same time where all the other warlords are being summoned to help prepare to fight Whitebeard. And wait, is that I think that's Sengoku talking to him. He's got the mustache, right? Is that him? Probably. And I find this part really interesting too. I want to pause here because they say uh, when Kuma asks like, "Okay, why are we all being summoned?" The person talking to him, I think it's Sengoku, says the flag bearer of the new era, Ace, Porcus D. Ace, has a public execution. He's been caught, and we have set a date for an execution. I like that they call him the flag bearer of the new era. I was thinking about that because I was thinking, so they're considering a new era there from him, where he left out the sea, I guess, and then any other pirates before then. So I'm thinking about that as like because then later they have Luffy and the others at Sabaody being called the next generation. So I'm wondering if that means like with this Ace is the generation Ace is part of was also bundled with where Cavendish, because I think Cavendish starts out his journey 2 years before the start of the story. So a year after Ace did. I forgot to check that. I think that's right. Let me check that a second. Oh, it's 3 years ago. No. Okay, so 3 years ago. That's right, 3 years before. I'm getting the timing wrong. But so 3 years ago, that means 1 year before Luffy set out, Cavendish did. So that'd be 2 years after Ace. So I'm still thinking they would be bundled together as the same generation. And then the next generation now being the worst generation, Luffy and Hawkins and everyone else. So anyways, I just thought that's very interesting that they call Luffy flag bearer of the new era as Ace at this point. So this is probably before, I'm guessing it's during the time skip then while Luffy's training that the other, his contemporaries at Sabaody, including like Bonney, are causing different mayhem, and that's where they're bundled as the worst generation, which I'm guessing, does that mean there was like, because, I wonder if like other contemporaries of Ace and Cavendish were caught or killed before Luffy set out to sea, and that's why there's not as many of them around or mentioned. That's why they weren't called the worst generation. especially with finding out when they found out Ace was um, the son of Roger. Uh, hmm. Now we switch to Sabaody during the day where Luffy and the others got there, and we see Bonney again where she was at the that one inn, well, and eating there when her and I know Capone was there, and he was annoyed by her slovenly, ferocious, vivacious kind of eating. One second, I'm gonna get a sweater. So at this point here, we find out that Kuma did know Bonnie was there at Sabaody, the restaurant front there, and Kuma's wearing a white cloak. Probably so no one realizes that it's him, the warlord, and he sneaks into a window, and people are even pointing and looking at him. I think there in the panel, it's a small panel, so it's kind of hard to tell for sure. But he is peeking in the window and watching Bonnie eat and stuff. And he's doing it because he's like, oh, because this is right up to the point now where he does. I was trying to remember if this had been shown before, but I was thinking that Kuma, when we saw him at Marineford, I couldn't remember if he was like still himself then, but this confirms he was not, or it confirms it to me. I wasn't sure. And he's thinking here too. He's thinking here as he's looking in on Bonnie, this will be the last time I see a face. So I want to, he wants to sneak up and see her one more time. He's still not going to talk to her, of course. And he's got this little smile on his face, and he's looking in there. And it's funny, though, we got two people like, holy shit, there's a big face in the window. What the hell's going on? And while that's happening, Kuma, after this, we go to where we have the Marines surrounding the slave auction, and they're announcing how someone just hit a celestial dragon. And Kuma's like walking by and looks like, oh, someone hit a celestial dragon, and he sneaks in to see this to himself. He gets on top of the roof, and he's talking to himself about how that no one who would be crazy enough to do that. Like, someone attacked a celestial dragon. Don't they know that's taboo? No one would ever do that. It's like it's suicide. With Navy HQ's right there. And he looks in from the top like, my God, it's them again, the Straw Hat Pirates. So what happens here? Yeah, so he's like, wow, he did it to protect a fisherman too. And he's looking at all of them. We see all the Straw Hats in a little panel here. We see Hachi and do we see Komina? I don't think we do. So he's like, wow, this kid is really something. So at this point here, Kuma appears to have put together a plan to help Luffy. This is right where Kuma sends all the Straw Hats away. So he probably wasn't even ordered to help Kizaru. He just shows up here. Is that how they showed that in the arc? I think so. So Kuma... we jump to the part where the PX-1 is fighting the Straw Hats, and he starts popping them away. And he's thinking to himself as he does this, he's thinking about Dragon and Ivankov, and he's like, I hope you guys can forgive me for not saying anything. I'm gonna do one last thing that will help us leave them, be my legacy now that I am gonna lose myself. While he's showing that talking, we get briefly panels of Kizaru, Santomaru, and even Rayleigh there. And Luffy's there too, and we see his face as Kuma sends them all away. And Luffy's at that point where he's breaking down because he's like, I couldn't save anyone. And Kuma doesn't say anything, but he's thinking to himself, you're not ready, kid. I'm doing this to save you guys and get you ready. Because I know someday you guys can save the world. So now we get near to the end here. There's several panels, but we get to the end now, and we jump to a conversation between Vegapunk and Saturn. and Saturn is ordering Vegapunk to put a self-destruct mechanism into Kuma. I can't recall. I remember someone was asking about something about this. I'm trying to recall if we've heard about this before, because somebody was talking. I was watching I think it was Tekken 101 stream, and it was about whether or not Kuma would take out Saturn and kill himself. This does seem to be hinting at that. He's Vegapunk here is irate at this too. And he's like, oh, you are really that afraid of Kuma that you would put a self-destruct mechanism? um, so Vegapunk, Saturn just says, well, don't complain. His status is like such as because of you. Like, that's a weird line to say. Anyways, it goes on, and Vegapunk here tries to argue with him by saying, "What are you worried about? You have the highest command in the hierarchy. You had me put into the site, him and the other PXs." But then, Saturn points out, well, if he went rogue somewhere else and not in our presence, how would anyone? No one would be able to stop him. No, he's asking a question. More of a question. How would anyone stop him? But he says, don't actually answer that question. I'm not interested in opinions of a scientist for hire. And Vegapunk tries one more time by saying, hey, like, in exchange for this, how about let me just keep a touch of his ego. I have a way of where I can switch back and forth between two states akin to a split personality. Now that's interesting too. I wonder if he put that into Kuma, because at this point he's ordered by Saturn here not to do it. Like, no, I'm not going to let you test out this thing. I've given you my order. You are to follow exactly what I just said. Racist individuality is all that stuff. I don't want anything left behind. And he then reinforces by saying, I am a scientist myself. If you try to deceive me, I'll know that you didn't do what I say. And then Vegapunk ends off by saying, but then he won't ever be able to reunite with Bonney. Still trying to appeal to Saturn's humanity, but it obviously doesn't work here. But let's pause there. I wonder if he did put that into Kuma. And once again, we get one more time we get what was that point I was gonna say there? Oh yeah, the bubble. I was gonna comment on the bubble. I'm surprised that I was trying to figure out if there'd be a way for Kuma to get the bubble back. But if I understand this right, because Bonney went in and viewed the bubble, she's viewing these memories still. We're seeing this from Bonney really viewing the memories, actually, we see. So I was trying to figure out will the bubble be able to go back to Kuma and make him regain his personality. Because it's really weird here. I'm kind of confused, because if he takes his memories out... No, wait, let's see how that's going to happen. No, because they do explain it here. I was going to say if he just takes his memories out, doesn't that mean he can still get him back? But no, he's gonna fully erase Kuma's mind somehow here. So now we switch to the day Kuma goes back to. This is the final part of the chapter I've seen here. Well, not final, close. Kuma's come back to Vegapunk, and he's sitting in that operation area again with like the big MRI machine. And Kuma's like, well, this is the day. What? Oh, wait. So Kuma must have been there while that conversation was just happening. I just caught this now. And Kuma says, oh, I'm glad to see that you still have you still have a sense of humanity. Vegapunk, thanks for standing up for me. And Vegapunk's just surprised, like, wait, how do you know about that conversation? And Kuma says, well, you're the one who gave me superhuman hearing. So maybe that's why he's got the ears now? And then Vegapunk is going on saying, yep, today's the day. We have to finally do it. And he says, Kuma, I know it's only been 2 years, but this was fun working with you. And Kuma here too is quite. The nice thing about the scene is Kuma at this point is quite happy. He feels like you can tell he's done everything he can for the future, especially with because he has confidence in Luffy and his crew being, and as well as Bonney being spearheads to the next generation of the next generation to make things better. Uh, so this is right after Thriller Bark and before, or after Sabaody, I should say, and right before White Marineford happened. So how many days was that? When Luffy got to when he got the when he got the Amazon Lily, it was 6 days before Ace's execution. So this is somewhere that week or so before Ace's execution. Because Kuma Vegapunk here points out, looks like after I'm finished completing the cyborg, your first assignment will be to go help fight the Whitebeard pirates. He talks about how he's going to he's been ordered to prepare a battalion of the PX-1s to be support there, which we see later Sentomaru arrives there with them an hour or two after the battle has started, basically. And Kuma here, this is interesting because I was thinking Vegapunk wouldn't do this, and after the threat Saturn has, but now I forgot about this. Kuma makes a request to Vegapunk about putting in the program that allows him where he goes to protect the Straw Hat ship. Wait a minute, that's interesting. I was just thinking about that because I forgot that he does that. I keep forgetting that because I keep thinking about him after this being at Marijua, and they're trading him around, using him as a mount and other stuff for their pleasure, like using him as a toy, a thing, like the one Charlos's father, someone's riding him. But that's right. He does first after this, I think, stay at Sabaody for 2 years. I wonder if the other Marines were looking for him and they didn't realize he was there. Now I gotta look back at that. But this is where he makes a request. When he says, after Marineford, after the stuff with Whitebeard is done with, can you put a program in me to protect the Straw Hat ships? Just until one of them returns, right? And Vegapunk's like, why would you want to protect that new crew of pirates? And he points out, like, I think, based on what I saw of his actions, he has the spirit of my idol Nika. And he even calls Luffy a hero. I like that he points him out as a hero, because that was I had a video I just did a while ago about the when I was doing this my little looking back at the other flashback chapters before this. I was pointing out like how Dragon's actions and Kuma's actions and Luffy's actions would be seen as heroes if they were on the other side of the fence that is with the Marines. And Kuma points him out here. He really has the kind of not morals. He's like Nika. He's the person I believe will be like Nika and will be the one that will change the seas, change what's going on in the world. So it's really cool that he sees Luffy as the embodiment of Nika, and we now know he is. This is a nice throwback, the connecting the two together. Oh man, this is just hard to read now because this is the part. It's funny too. We get scenes here with Kuma with his glasses on again. It's nice to see him with his glasses and not that veiled, white-eyed look he has when we saw him other times. So, anyways, Vegapunk says, it's interesting to see a revolutionary placing their hopes on that of a pirate. You're backing quite the dark horse. And he makes a nice comment by saying, this unorthodox thinking is proof of your humanity. And then he says, well, now we're about to begin, so if you don't mind keeping your promise, I want to have a copy of your memories. I have your memories now. And he actually asks, does this erase your memories? This is what I was trying to go over before, about whether he can get them back. But no, he he's able to just copy his memories and put them into this bubble. It will disappear when it's touched, though. So this is what I was getting missed. I was trying to recall. I was hoping that Bonney, if Bonney opened that door, it could go back to him. But it looks like now that she's interacted with it, this is gonna disappear. So what I was hoping seems not possible unless Vegapunk has found a way to make a copy of that copy. So this is near the end. So now. Wait a minute. So Vegapunk says, "I won't." So Vegapunk's not planning on touching it. He wants to examine it, but he has a system already in place so he can look at it. I wonder if that's what he did. He looked at the memories, and that's why he lied to and then he lied to Bonney about saying it's his pain bubble thing, like he did with Luffy, but in order to try and keep it from looking at it. I think that is it, part of it. And then he has Kuma place it. He has Kuma place the memory bubble into that thing, into a container thing that's being held between these two machinery parts. And Kuma's there again. Now we finally get near the point where Kuma has a machine around his head, getting ready to change him, and he's like, "So this is my end of my life, huh? I wonder how many people have been harmed or troubled." He's looking back now, basically, and then Vegapunk makes a very philosophical saying here. I like people being troubled by actions. Living is nothing without trouble, wouldn't you say? And that's a very nice, thoughtful thing to think about. How you can't just go through life and have eternal peace, so to speak, in the way that what I mean by that is not like having peace from war. I'm saying that there'll always be conflict, and that's just how life is, and it makes it more. I think Vegapunk's trying to say that's what makes it more worth living. So now we get a whole page full of panels flashing through all of Kuma's life. And it starts with showing his parents holding him as a kid, and then showing him as a slave and where he met Ivankov, and then him and Ginny together. And it shows him running along. It's an interesting montage they're doing. And then it's showing Dragon and the other friends he has from Sorbet, and seeing Ginny as an adult, and then seeing Bonney as a child. And oh, it's so sad. And he's just thinking again how it's so great I was able to cure her. So he's going through thinking all this, but he's thinking about how he has no regret, essentially. And Vegapunk, now we get near the end. Vegapunk is holding his hand over a lever, which is going to finish the job. And he's starting to cry his eyes out over that he has to do this. And he's like, "Kuma, you didn't cause any trouble or harm to other people, but when you die, it will cause great pain to everyone who loves you." Obviously, he's crying his eyes out too. So he is he is in pain already as he's about to do this, because he sees Kuma as a great friend now. And he says last words to Kuma, "Listen, Kuma, you're also a hero. Not just for Bonney, of course, but other people you've met, other people you helped, like we saw in the last chapter, him helping take people to a hospital who were attacked by pirates." Oh man, this is hard. And Kuma says, actually, no, that's making me sad. So Kuma says, "Thank you." And one last thing, Vegapunk. And Vegapunk just says, "Yeah, I know, but but he says, anyways, I can't say how grateful I am. I can't emphasize enough how grateful I am that you saved Bonnie's life. And when you see her, if you see her again, will you tell her something for me?" And I have him say that we see the process finish, and Kuma eyes, and we just see his eyes open up, and he looks all machine-like now. And there's a neat panel too where they show Egghead though, and they show like the sun shining through the clouds. And wait, before that too though, we see an interesting sets of panels here where the one that confuses me the most is we see these people like praying to the sun. Are these supposed to be the other people on Egghead here? I think so. And I think these other people must be people who worked with Kuma, and they're like watching, waiting for this as this is happening. They probably know it's about to happen to Kuma. I'm supposing. We even see Sentomaru too, kind of like have his hand over. He's holding something, I think, but almost like he's doing that motion that you see where people like take their hat off when they're doing like when someone's passed on. And we get two more panels of Vegapunk crying his eyes out, and he's finished pulled the switch down. Then we get to the what his Kuma's eyes open, and now we jump back to the present with just two panels of Bonney, and we see her first in that room where the paw thing was, and it's gone now. And he says, "If you see Bonney again, could you tell her, please wish her a happy 10th birthday?" And we just end the scene with a panel of her crying her eyes out, the way we kind of like we saw Vegapunk a moment ago, as she's just finished absorbing all the memories and probably viewing them all. Oh man, I like the little thing at the bottom. His daughter was the only thing in his heart. Is the only thing in his heart. And unfortunately, there's another break next week. Oh, I should say that in the beginning because of Christmas time. So. This is definitely the end of the thing, I'm assuming. So we're going to get back to Straw Hats. What's it been now? 10 weeks since we saw them, I think. I really did this chapter piece together so much, though. One thing I was hoping to see in here, though, was that we see this point here, what's this, 2 years ago. I was hoping we would have seen one of the satellites here, too. But we don't seem to, I don't see... When they were showing him looking at the other clones of himself, I thought there was one behind him, but I think that was just another assistant there with Vegapunk, not the satellite, one of the satellites. Let me see, where was it? Here we go. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. That almost looks like Pythagoras there with the little head. Or maybe that is Pythagoras and Edison. That might be Pythagoras and Edison there next to Kuma as Vegapunk was showing off the other... the PX1s. This is such a good chapter. I'm so glad. I can't wait. I can't wait for the proper translated one to come out though. I've been noticing lately when I read some of those, there's some differences. But this one just covers so much. I really hope that Oda's not gonna just end Kuma this way. I'm kind of, but I can't say that because Oda's been going hard into making this story harsher, especially ever since starting with Ace's passing, especially actually even when the Strides got separated too. He's been going hard into this, and I think my hopes of Kuma coming back are not going to be possible. His sacrifice like this, I think he's going to sacrifice himself somehow still though here. And that's going to be the new impetus to help to propel us, the story forward, and propel us to, of course, to have this ever more so disdain for the celestial dragons, and especially the Gorosei, as we're getting to the final arc, because they're going to be a main enemy too. We don't just have Blackbeard anymore. The Gorosei were introduced at the same time as Blackbeard, ironically, both during Jaya. But now they've become they're a force that in a way scares me more than Blackbeard. I don't know how Oda, I can't wait to see it too, how Oda can make Blackbeard a bigger threat, because he's gathering more forces, but we see what the manpower that the Gorosei have, so it's very interesting to see how that's going to play out. But back to what I'm getting at here is, I like how we're getting the awfulness of the Gorosei more so, and what they're willing to do to keep power on the world. And Eam too will be interesting, because he stands above them. But this was a good chapter too, because it showed how Kuma was able to extremely in a way I couldn't do it. I don't think he's got both Bonney alive now, and he's looking forward to seeing Luffy. He's looking at Luffy as the future, and I really like how optimistic he is about it, and how he's been proven right about how Luffy is, and how Luffy will be the future. Um, I think I'm gonna end the chapter here. I have no more thoughts. Reading the ending here was even harder the second time here than the first. And plus, I do want to work on another video. I got another video. I was rereading some One Piece, and I got a theory video I got to start working on. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this flashback as much as I did. It's had its ups and downs. I hope this is the end of it, because I can't take any more myself, I think. And I want to see what's going on in the present time. So I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas. I'll probably still get a video out before the New Year. I'm going to try. Yeah, I should be able to. I'm reading through this arc in One Piece. I don't want to spoil what my idea is. I have a theory video I'm going to try and push out next week probably, once I finish my research for it. Anyways, yeah, that'll be it for today. Thanks for watching.